Gentlemen, today we are talking about arguably the greatest World War II film ever made, written, directed, and produced by the legendary Chris Nolan. 2017 war film starring Harry Styles, Cillian Murphy, Fionn Whitehead, Mark Rylance, and one of our favorites here in the podcast, Tom Hardy. Budget of 125, box office of 527, making it the highest grossing World War II film ever made. Today, we're talking about Dunkirk. I didn't get into the litany of awards on this, fellas, but what I will just say is that it got nominated for 8 Academy Awards. Best Picture, Best Director, Best Song, Best Sound Mix, Best Film Editing. Won those 5, of course. This is, when you get that many nominations, you're doing something.
The favorites, given who made the film and Nolan, who again is in my mind is a legend.
You've always loved Chris Nolan. Always have loved Chris Nolan.
Okay. So I can't understand all his movies, but I appreciate what he does. But in this one, you kind of get. I feel like it was going to be one of those films where a lot of the critics were going to like it. For me, you just jump into the open scene there, where the abandoned town. They kind of go and start in with that, and like some of the, and you know me, I'm big on imagery. So having that abandoned town being all quiet and it was eerie from the beginning, and then you saw all those people were kind of 7 soldiers just when the shots start ringing out, everybody's running and like it's gunned down, and one person makes it over that fence. And at that point, it was like okay, now this is a World War II movie.
Yeah, it was crazy. I think one of the good things about this, Adrian, you talk about the imagery, right? I know that's your thing, that's your baby. For me, it's dialogue, right? Like I care about the words on the page. This film is not built around the dialogue, right? This film,
no.
It's so weird because I want. Me as a writer, and I want to see dialogue, but I'm like, there's no need for the dialogue here. Like everything they're doing with the imagery is spot on.
It was. I've never seen a film so reliant on the imagery as this one was, because there were so few words spoken. I remember I was watching it and I was thinking, there's these long gaps of time where there's nothing being said.
Yeah.
But Nolan being Nolan is like filling it with this imagery that gets you thinking and tells the story itself. Yeah. So that part I actually really kind of appreciated about the film. I know, and I'm not a writer like Chuck is. I've only ever written one film. So I'm not a big writer, but it was definitely, the imagery was something special, honestly, in a film like this, I thought.
Yeah.
I think this might be the best acting movie I've ever seen.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a big one.
There's some heavy hitters in this. But the acting ability on this is so impactful that nobody stands out. It's like usually when you're looking for a good movie based off acting ability, for me, what I'm looking for is, even though you're a star or whatever have you, I want you to be so well in your role that I don't even recognize you, other than the character that you're playing. And in this, I'm like, wow, this is just way intense. Like, there's not one scene that's not intense. You know what I mean? Like,
I agree with you. And I mean, honestly, when I saw that Tom Hardy was in this film, I'm thinking, Tom Hardy, it's going to be a Tom Hardy film, right? No, it wasn't.
Nope.
Obviously, we talked a little bit backstage about how this is the Harry Styles cinematic debut. I think he held his own. Did a great job with the cast here. One thing that stood out to me, Mo, and I want to hear what you think about it is, I really took away three different stories being told here: the foot soldiers, the pilots, and then the Navy. Right? You get the air, you get the sea. You know the old military slogan: by air, by sea, by
Mm-hmm.
land. Which story gripped you more? I thought there were three very gripping tales going on.
So I think you can even break it up to like one of them, the Navy. It's like a 1A, 1B, because you had the regular Navy with the regular ships, but then you had the personal navies, like the
Yeah,
sailors.
Yeah.
yeah,
You had the personal sailors who was going to try to save the people
yeah.
too. So you could break that one up into two. You got the professionals and the amateurs trying to, help. I think it's the God. That's actually a good question. Because to me it's two. And the only reason why I would say it's the ground forces is because they all standing on our bridge just getting sniped. It's insane.
Yeah.
Like they're just getting taken out. Like, what are you gonna do to try to save yourself? Duck? Like that to me right there. That scene was crazy to me. And then the Navy, like when they was hiding in that boat, that to me was incredible. And it was like, stick your head up. You gotta stick your head up and look. Yo, that's insane. So I want to say truly it was the Navy part that really got me because that boat scene when they're all in the boat, the water's rising, you got to go out. You're going out. If you go out, you might get shot. That had me. That right there had me. But the ground forces, I was intrigued. I was like, oh, that's pretty good. But I was a little confused. This movie had me confused the first time I watched it. I had to watch it again to actually be able to understand because, like you said, there's like three different things, and then you break the Navy up to two. You got four different things going on all at once, and you're like, okay, I was here already. All right, what's going on here? I don't remember where they was at. Like I had to pull it all back together. That's why I had to see it a second time. And usually that's what Christopher Nolan do to you, anyways, right?
Yeah.
His movies are movies you got to see two times. Inception, right? You have to see his movies a second time in order to be like, oh, I get it.
Right. Right.
So I was so just a quick side note. I saw a Christopher Nolan top 10 list recently, and I don't remember this movie ranked on it, but I thought it was too low on that list. So I'll have to find out later. But as far as the story, which story was more I thought more compelling, it was definitely a story about the two soldiers. Because for me, it was I could envision myself in their roles where they just want to go home. They just want to get out of there and like pretending to be the medics carrying. They find a guy on the beach,
Yeah.
grab them and just pretend to be medics. And then the one of them when they first got on that ship and they split up and they were like, no, where's he going? You're thinking, why is he shifting away from the others? And then it comes to light that that's how he's kind of survived this whole time, was always looking for that exit, always looking for a quick way out. So when he got in that shit, the first thing he did was, I'm not going in and locked in this room with these guys. I want to take the plane track and get out. So
And that's not going to be a wise play.
it was the right move, absolutely.
Yeah.
So that story, their stories, the two soldiers, the boys, really, that was I thought was the most compelling part of the film to me. That their storyline.
Yeah. Jamal, what do you think?
Yeah, I can go with that. I can definitely go with that of following the two boys in the situation. For me, the thing that captured me most about the story is that it was a real humane story. Like it was a real. There was no like superheroes in this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There were no big dogs, no nothing. Like everyone was just trying to survive, and you're more than likely not going to survive. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So everyone was like kind of breaking protocol in a sense to like just like when all of the young soldiers were like in that boat that was like kind of off to the side, like just hiding.
Yeah.
Everyone's just sitting there hiding, like and then all of a sudden someone started like just doing target practice on the boat, and it's like,
That's
yo, that's
crazy, man.
insane. Like,
That's crazy.
dude, you can die just that simple. Like,
Yep.
So with the ships, right? With the with that scene with them on the ship, and the ship started sinking.
Mhm.
Like, for someone like myself who can't swim,
I can't swim either. Yo, that's why I was so intrigued with that. I can't swim. I'm like,
it was terrifying to me
because I don't know. Like, I'm not jumping out. Go ahead, AJ. I'm not. Gosh.
No, I'm with you. I'm like, you know what? Anytime I go on a shit like that, I'm like, I'm sleeping in my life preserver. Like, I'm not taking this. I'm taking a shower in that life preserver. If somebody starts firing in that ship, like, I don't want to be the one going down with the ship because I can't swim.
Yeah.
But
There were two things that really held on to me. And I'm surprised neither one of you guys brought this up. The first was I was intrigued by the pilots. Now, and more so towards the Tom Hardy angle of this, where he was waging war. Here's the difference between he and everybody else in the story. For the majority of the film, he's waging war by himself, right?
Yeah.
Against other airships. He's up there by himself because his partner goes down pretty early in the fight, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's intriguing to me. The fact that at one point we get a clear story arc for Tom Hardy, right? It's, hey, we gotta go, we gotta help get these boys some cover. He goes, loses his partner. Shit, I gotta keep it moving, right? He becomes the hero. He gets the round of applause. We love it, right? Oh, this is great. Tom's up. And then he's like, I'm out of gas. And there's nowhere for me to land. And when I do land, you watching him land, you're like, boy, he made it out, and this is safe, and this is legendary.
No.
And then the boys surround him, and I'm like, oh. That hurt me when I was watching. I was like, I can't believe he got captured at the end of that. So
that's a good point, because when he landed, I thought he was safe too. When he lit the plane on fire, the first time I saw it, I was trying to figure out, why is he lighting this plane on fire?
Yep.
And then you get to see he's surrounded by the enemy soldiers, which again, that's a good call out. That was definitely one of those scenes where it was like, okay, his story's coming to an end here,
right.
and leaves you wondering, like, what happens to him after he gets captured, which I thought was kind of a nice cliffhanger for it. But go ahead.
Sadly, you would assume, if you really think about it, you would assume he probably died, because it was very rare that you made it out of those camps or anything like that.
At the very least, it was a prisoner of war.
Prisoner of war.
And the second story you guys overlooked was there was a short, albeit heart-catching story arc of two young boys who got mixed up in this story voluntarily, right?
Yeah.
They were on the pier, and the military was coming just to get boats. That's what they were coming there for. They were commandeering citizen boats to go and get their men. These two young boys, and of course the father as well, said, no, we're going to go get them ourselves. Yeah. Which, commendable to me, right? Because that little boy could have went home. He said, no, I'm going to help. And then for him to get killed by hey, come on, man. Come on, man.
So I actually did take note of that scene as well, because it was one of those scenes where it was like the first mistake that was made was locking him in that room. Right? The man just went through some trauma. He was on a ship that was sinking. There's no reason to lock him in that room.
I was gonna say that was on them. You should have never locked him in that room.
I'm not gonna lie. I was gonna lock him in the room if it was me. And I tell you right now, in retrospect, seeing hindsight, it wouldn't have been the best choice, but I would have did it because he was showing signs that he was not going back.
Correct.
And that he was not going to go back by all means necessary.
Correct.
You know what I mean? So I'm an old man with two boys. You know what I mean? We could try to submit this, throw this dude overboard or whatever have you, worse and worse, but yeah, I ain't got that type of confidence.
He was absolutely showing signs of aggression. You know what I mean? Yeah. And listen, I'm not turning around, right? And so in order for me to be safe and navigate this shift,
you can't turn around.
No. So you got to lock him in there until we get to Dunkirk. and then he got some kind of superior there who can calm him down a little, or go with somebody else by that matter. You know what I mean? But so yeah, locking him in the room might have been a smart plan.
I still, I don't
And,
know.
and obviously it wasn't because you didn't lock him in the room. Like you didn't properly lock him in that room because he got out.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah.
and then to have that scene where just accidentally he knocks the kid.
Yeah,
down.
it was like I didn't even know the kid was dead. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, because when he goes down, it's one of those things that you actually never really think about, even in real life. Like, if somebody falls and hits their head, you just figure that, okay, they might get a concussion to get back up. No, in real life, and I think they did a good job portraying that in this movie. If you hit your head hard enough, there's gonna be some damage, there's gonna be some swelling.
Yeah, and you could die.
If you don't have some medical expertise to help you out, you're really not going to make it. And that was the case with this kid. His name was George, the kid George in this film.
Yeah,
and that's why this is so beautiful, Adrian. We keep going back to the imagery of this movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's sometimes the little things. You know what I mean? Just a gritty, real life situation of somebody falling down awkwardly down some stairs, hit their head and dying. It's not flashy. It's not sexy. It didn't have a whole bunch of dialogue. Just a beautifully crafted scene.
100%. And again, going back to the lack of dialogue, and that scene, and those scenes were Cillian is the actor's name. I can't remember his first name.
Cillian Murphy.
Yes, yeah. So in those scenes where he's speaking, those were because those were scenes where the words, the dialogue was kind of needed, and to kind of express exactly how far gone he was and how committed he was to not going back to Dunkirk. He definitely showed it in his actions, but in the few words he spoke, I felt like okay, if you're not getting it at this point, this man doesn't want to go back. Like you're just not gonna get it at all. And so I just thought that kid George, he was sorry George, you had to die, but it was just one of those things where it's like, again, don't lock somebody in a room that's not properly locked. Lesson learned.
I got a question for y'all, right? Do you consider him a coward? Like based off his actions, or do you like?
No.
Military trauma is a different beast.
That's a whole different world.
Yeah, you got war trauma. That's you're no coward at all.
And that war, that was one of the craziest, probably craziest. It is the craziest war of all time.
What we normally do on the Unspoken is we just use a grading scale of 1 to 5. 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. And if we all get a 5, that will be deemed a classic. Ramon, we'll start with you. 1 to 5, Dunkirk, Chris Nolan.
I'm not, the fact that I was confused the first time I watched it, I'm not going to hold it against it. I'm actually going to give it a 4. It's going to get a 4 for me. I think it was really good. I love the storylines. I like the different storylines. I like the action in it. And you know what? I do like war stories, and I feel like we don't get enough of them, like real war stories,
Right.
Yeah.
And so I'm a big fan of Christopher Nolan, so I'm definitely just going to give it a 4. I'm with
Adrian, talk to me, Adrian. 1 to 5. Where are you on Dunkirk?
All right, so you guys know I'm a huge Nolan fan. And so I'm with Mo. Like, this movie was definitely had that authentic kind of war feel movie. Like, you can see this something that's really happened. So at the end of the day, I thought this was definitely up there, but not all the way up there. Exactly. So I'm gonna go for 4 as well.
Okay, Jamal, what are you talking about? 1 to 5 on Dunkirk.
Yeah, definitely giving it a 4. It was like I said, best acting I think I've seen in a movie. Cinematography was amazing.
Yeah.
Cast was amazing. Yeah, I was definitely sold. I could definitely go with 4.
Yeah, and I think I'm going to get in bed with you guys on this. I'm going to give it a solid 4, rock solid 4. I'm trying to find reasons in my head to give it 5. I can't cross that hump. But when you, no shame on the movie. Dialogue's important, and it's always important to me, right? Tom Hardy might have said 40 words in the whole movie. Maybe. Same with Harry Styles. Maybe 40, 50 words. And look, the story's gripping. It, to me, is the best war film ever made. It bordered on, dare I say it, because it's, dare I say this is close to documentary material, right? And how real life I felt watching it, right? I felt like I was captured by the story in a way that you don't normally get with a war film.
All right. So as far as quotes go in the movie, where there aren't a lot of lines or there isn't a lot of speaking, there actually was a quote when I heard it during the film. I was like, that has to be my quote. That has to be my quote for the film. It was towards the end of the film where I think it was Harry Styles' character talking to the old man, and the old man says, "Well done, lads, well done." And then Alex, the soldier, that said, "All we did was survive." And the old blind man said, "That's enough."
Yeah.
That was the quote for the movie.
Oh, that's good.
That
was good.
That's the one. That's the one. For the Unspoken Podcast, I'm Charles Jones.
Superman.
Mr. Senator.
And that's Movie Mall. We will catch you the next time on the Unspoken Podcast.
Like, share, subscribe, and clearly he froze.